Good evening and welcome to the Early Set. The Early Set is a weekly talk show dedicated to the artists who make live jazz and more happen in New York City and beyond. I'm your host, Gabrielle Stravelli. I am a vocalist and songwriter, and you can find out more about me on my website, which is gabriellestravelli.com. If you are joining us on Facebook, I do have you're already on my music page, Gabrielle Stravelli Music on Facebook, but I do hope you will follow us so that you can know about the upcoming guests we have on the Early Set and also on my Facebook page. Of course, you'll hear about my gig announcements and stuff like that. And you can also hear me and see what I do on my YouTube channel, which is also Gabrielle Stravelli Music. If you would, go boogie on over to YouTube if you're not already there and click, there's a little button below this video that says subscribe. We would love for you to click that again so you can be aware of our upcoming episodes. And I'm releasing new videos all the time of my own material and standards. So you can see all that good stuff there. And if you're watching on Facebook, we also will be eternally grateful if you would hit the share button. Not share as in share the artist, but share as in share and share alike, so that other people will know about this show. And particularly tonight, because I have this totally kick-ass guest. Nothing but guests on this show. I really adore this person and love her music so much. My guest today will be pianist, vocalist, arranger, composer, and educator, Dena DeRose. Before I welcome Dena to the Early Set, I want to give a quick shout out to a couple things that I love and that I think you guys will enjoy as well. The first thing I want to shout out, album that was shown. It wasn't really mentioned, but you saw the album cover if you joined us for last week's episode. So last week we had on sibling vocalists Aisha and Darius DeHaas, and we talked about their uncle, their mom, and their aunt who made up the legendary vocal trio Andy Bay and the Bay Sisters. And this album that you're seeing right now, this self-titled album, is the one I thought, I should give a full shout out to that album because it's one of my very favorite albums. And it was one of my favorites even before I knew that Aisha and Darius and Andy Bay were all part of one family. So I would love this album, even if I didn't know and love those two. Let's hear a little bit of this album. Let's roll a little bit of my favorite track from this album. This is Andy Bay and the Bay Sisters' arrangement of Sister Sadie.
Sister Sadie was a mean chick, and she thought that she was real slick. Then she ran into Alfonso Brown. She hasn't been the same since Alfonso brought her down.
Sister Sadie never worried. Sister Sadie never hurried. Then she ran into Alfonso Brown. She hasn't been the same since Alfonso put her down.
She just paces around the floor. She don't have any mind no more. She just stares into empty space with a frown on her face.
Sorry, I got a little... I cannot hear that song without dancing through my apartment. And I have a feeling it's going to have that effect on you as well. There's also a lot of beautiful ballads on the album. You will also hear the sisters do some solo singing because they are beautiful singers in their own right. As a trio, they have that amazing blend, that amazing synergy that only siblings have, in the way their vibratos match. It's just so much beautiful singing, beautiful arrangements, interesting chord changes to some well-known tunes. I love that album, and I think it should be in everybody's record collection. So check out Andy Bay and the Bay Sisters. The second album I'd like to shout out is one I kind of can't believe I haven't given a shout out to yet, because I think this is my Desert Island album. I think if I could only take one, I think this might be it. It's a Carmen McRae album, and it's called The Great American Songbook. This is actually a live album, even though it makes no mention in the title of that. It is a live album recorded in 1972, features an amazing band backing her up, which includes Jimmy Rolls on piano, Joe Pass on guitar. And this album, oh my God, it is a masterclass, one track after another of just like the best jazz singing ever. She's just it's like one of those records where a person is so completely at the top of their powers. And their powers are on full display, and that it's live, and there's that spontaneity, that magic too makes it so special. Let's hear a little bit of Carmen McRae singing Cole Porter's "At Long Last Love."
Is it an earthquake or simply a shock? Is it the good turtle soup or merely the mock? Is it a cocktail, this feeling of joy? But is what I feel the real McCoy? Is it for all time or simply a lark? Is that Granada I see or only Asbury Park? Is it a fancy not worth thinking of, or is it at long?
Oh, so good. Makes me so happy. I swear I know every word of that album, and yet I still I discover new things every time I listen to it. It's like one of those endlessly satisfying experiences. Yes, she does ballads as well. She swings her butt off. There's some great arrangements of pop tunes. She just completely owns every song on that record. And it's also, in terms of like when I was saying it's a masterclass, in terms of phrasing, man, it's like the definition of how to play with phrasing and stretch the time, but not be sitting on the beat. It's just so damn good. So it's no longer in print, but you can. I believe it's available for streaming, and you can find if you want a hard copy, there are older used copies on sale on eBay and stuff like that. So do check that out. Carmen McRae, The Great American Songbook. We are gratefully accepting donations tonight via Venmo and PayPal. For Venmo, it's at Gabrielle-Stravelli. And paypal.me/Gabrielle Stravelli. These donations help pay for the platform that we are streaming on. And they also are going to go to a charity. This week, Dena chose this wonderful organization, Jazz House Kids. Oh, Julie Garnier is my producer and technical director, and I really like the way that little logo just came on the screen. Jazz House Kids is a fantastic organization that, yes, they're all about jazz education for kids, but it's more than that. They're about mentorship, apprenticeship, and sort of teaching kids life skills through learning jazz music. So you can find out more about them at jazzhousekids.org if you are interested. And please, if you are able, whatever you are able to share, we hope that you will share it with us so that we can raise the money for Jazz House Kids tonight. Also, hey, Rick. Hey, Joyce. I saw some people are joining us. Jamie from Chile is tuning in. So nice to have you guys with us. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Now for the main event. Dena DeRose has been described as, quote, the most creative and compelling singer-pianist since Shirley Horn, close quote. And I concur. Whoever wrote that is correct. She has released 14 albums as a leader, received Grammy nominations. She regularly tours the world, playing the finest jazz clubs and festivals the States and internationally. She is a true jazz educator. She is the head of the jazz voice department at the Institute of Music and Art Graz in Austria. And she has so generously agreed to be here with us tonight. So please help me welcome to the early set, Dena DeRose.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Oh my God, I'm so excited to have you. Forgive me in advance for fangirling. It's gonna happen. So I'm so excited because you have a new record out, like a brand new record that came out in May, correct?
Yeah, well, at the very end of May, May 29th, I think it was released.
Wild.
And yep, and here it is.
Yeah, we've got
maybe can't see
ready
it,
to
but
go.
yeah.
Ode to the Road. I think Julie is gonna,
Oh, look at that.
Right.
Super.
I love it. I love this album. And
Thank you.
it's a very interesting mix of material. So I was wondering if you can just tell people about the songs that are on it, how you chose them, why, is there a narrative, a story you're telling behind these songs?
Well,
or not. If the answer is no, it's just a collection of tunes you love.
It's a collection of songs that I acquired by playing with the musicians I have on the CD.
Okay.
With different tours, different times playing with them. Of course, my trio of 17 almost plus years, Martin Wind and Matt Wilson. I mean, we've played some of these tunes through the years. One or two? No, one maybe. But the rest, I gathered really through I had great special guests. The legendary Houston Person on saxophone. And with him, we toured a few years ago in Spain and France through my European agent over here. And Houston, we were playing in Paris, and he had charts with him. He just always carries his charts, and he pulled out some charts that night, put them on the piano. And one of them was The Way We Were.
Right.
And I looked at it, and he's got all these other songs, The Days of Wine and Rose, all these other songs in there. And this one, I'm like, The Way We Were. And I had to look over where it said composer just to make sure it was what I was thinking.
Right.
When I was growing up in the 70s, it was one of my favorite songs.
Wow.
And it was, and I said, Houston, we have to do The Way We Were. And he goes, sure, because he loved it. So every gig, we had like 10 gigs or whatever in a row, and we did The Way We Were. And that was, a few years ago or more, like maybe even about 3 years ago. And almost 4, actually. It was the same year did the last bit of that tour with Kevin Mahogany, his last birthday. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was 4 years ago. So anyhow, but with Houston, I got ready for this recording and the whole, trying to have get a theme together. It took a little while, and I think I thought of it while we were at the studio, or maybe a little before, but it really took a while because I had all these great tunes that I had been doing on gigs. I had this, of course, I have this wonderful teaching position here. And one of the other special guests, Sheila Jordan, is also on this. And when I asked her to be on it, she was, of course, she said, well, of course, this would be so fun to sing together. And I said, well, Sheila, what are we going to sing together? And she said, how about All God's Chillin'? And I said, great. I mean, I learned that tune like 30 years ago in New
Oh,
York, whatever, like a long time, 25, 28 years ago. One of the first tunes I learned when I moved to New York. There were a lot of people playing that tune.
no.
So I had to learn it. And I only played it because I don't know, I just didn't think to sing it. It
Okay.
was one of those songs that a lot of horn players played, and being a pianist also, sometimes I only played, for jam. There was like a jam session tune, like
Okay.
they would call that then. Yeah. I mean, maybe even with Pat O'Leary. I mean, I'm thinking it might have
Probably.
been at the what, Arturo's or something. It's like one of those tunes. It was just big then.
Okay.
And then she said, but you're gonna. How about you sing that, and I sing Little Willie Leaps under it, because it works.
Wow.
She says. And she's someone, she doesn't know that much about harmony or anything. She does, but not that much. She's like old school, and it's a lot of ear and
Yeah.
audio learning of this music. But she knew. I mean, she could sing it over it, and it works. It's not exactly the same chord changes, but it's close enough. And it
Wow.
works. So yeah, it's really great. So
Cool.
anyhow, that, and then she said, what about Small Day Tomorrow? And I knew that tune from, again, years ago, but she suggested those tunes, which was great. So we just went with it, and let me think. The other one, Jeremy Pelt. Yeah. So the tunes that he's on, I think with Matt and Martin, we played those tunes like Cross Me Off Your List by Al Cohn, actually, and some guys put lyrics to it. It was first an instrumental tune. I think it was called No More or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and No More was not like you think no more of something, like no more chocolate cake, please, but it was no more, meaning he was with this woman and her last name was Moore, Moore. And that's actually how it's spelled, no more. So they had broken up. And this was like supposedly a tune. But so the guys that wrote the lyrics really took that and thought of why that instrumental song was written and put these great lyrics, Cross Me Off Your List, So it's like a very cool tune. And Jeremy just rips on that. So
Very
great.
cool. It's a beautiful album. I love it. I really love it. And it's
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so to wrap that up, is a lot of these people I played with on the road. I don't play in Graz. I don't play with them here. I don't even play with my usual trio, Matt and Martin, other than in the States or in New York. So on the road, Ode to the Road, and little did I see ahead of, this was recorded last October, did I see that it's actually really, for me, missing playing with all these people and like playing this around, like CD release. No.
Right.
Ode to the Road, So anyhow, yeah, that's.
Nobody saw it coming. We didn't know.
No. Nobody.
I had was looking at just a cell phone video somebody had made of a jam session on like February 18th of this year, and it's all these people packed into this club, and all I could think of was like, we had no idea what was just around the corner.
Right? Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Wow. So
pretty amazing.
Yeah, crazy. And thank God, considering all that, it's great that we do have all these ways to get the music out to people, over the interwebs, and we don't have to be in person to release new music. So this album was still able to come into the world, but I know it doesn't feel the same. It's a thing to have that CD release concert, and it.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's getting great radio play. Jazz Week. I think this week it's still, for the 4th week, it's number 10.
Yay.
Last week it was number 6 or 4. I think it peaked at 4.
Right.
But anyhow, it still gets radio play. But that's the thing, is like, it's the whole sort of process. Is you make a recording, you get some radio play, you get the ba, and the gigs come in, and then you do gig it, and then you sell them off gigs, because that's the only money you make on them.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and so then none of that's there. So now we rely on like Spotify and YouTube and all those channels for people to play it, so that we make like 0.001 or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
after it's been heard 500,000 times or something, right?
Oh,
So
that.
yeah,
Is it up on Bandcamp, Dena?
I think so. I'm
Okay.
not sure.
Because they've been really amazing about like giving 100% of the profits of CD sales. I need to get with it in terms of Bandcamp, getting my own music up there, but I've been seeing other artist friends talk about Bandcamp, and they are really, really doing amazing things. They seem to be very aware of how little money artists
Yeah.
make from the streams,
Yeah.
streaming of their own music. So they're really stepping up their efforts to give
Mhm.
the artists as much of the profits as they can right now, for what it's
I
worth.
know that I set up my profile and I've been, started it at least, but there's so many platforms. It's
Right.
unbelievable. I can't keep up with it.
Wow.
So I think that was the last one I did, and that might have been in January or February that I sort of started it up again. I had it like a few years ago, and I just never did, because there was too much to do with traveling and touring and teaching and all these things. It's like to keep up with like 7 different platforms of, I don't know, it seems like
No,
someone should just make one that's like sort of takes care of all of them.
yeah.
Or you have maybe a personal assistant or
Yes.
something.
Yeah. You need an assistant.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll see.
So,
Yeah.
I want to ask you about. I'm very interested in the songwriting process, particularly for writing instrumental music, and how. Before we talk about it, I'm going to roll a little clip of one of the original tunes on this new album, "Ode to the Road." So one of the original tunes, "Tip of the Hat." Right, I believe. Correct me. That's one of your own songs. So let's hear a little bit of "Tip of the Hat" right now. Oh, so good.
Thank you.
I love it. And the other original composition on the album does have lyrics, but yeah, I'm just very interested in people's process, because it varies so greatly, and just like what does it look like when you are writing, when you want to write a new tune, that whole thing. Tell me everything.
Writing for me it's different on every tune I've ever written. It came out differently. This particular one, I started in the early 2000s, before I even lived here. I was still living in New York.
Oh,
And
wow.
I had just about 4 bars of it written out, the melody, and it wasn't exactly this melody, but it was close.
Mm-hmm.
It was something similar, just some different notes I ended up using. and it was just on a piece of paper. I keep everything when it comes to like music, because I mean, in New York, when I lived in New York for almost 16 years, I moved 9 times. And so like I had everything with, just the van came, put it all in, moved to the next place. And I had this huge file cabinet, and it's full of music, and I kept it with me all my whole life. It's still here now in Austria in my basement. And I always kept a lot of things, and all the little ideas I had. I have like, I wasn't very organized, but I was organized enough to have at least manila folders that said originals on it, or,
Okay. Hey.
but they were also scattered through a lot of other stuff. So I end up cleaning, during this time also, and finding things, but also through different times when I take a couple weeks off and I do some spring cleaning or whatever it is. I find things in other places. And this one I found, early last year in a pile that was like, it said something totally different on the manila folder, and it was just squeezed in. I pulled it out and I was like, oh, right. I remember that thing. And so I started playing around with it and fixing some of the notes that I realized when I wrote. I think it was written in 2004. I looked at the notes and I thought, aha. And I played it, and it was a little awkward for me, how the intervals went. And I played through it a little more and realized that I didn't hear then what I hear now. I had the ideas, the shapes, but it just wasn't like detailed, like which exact notes. So it was maybe ba da boo ba ba ba. It was just like a third or a fourth. But now I realize when I look at it, oh, that's what I meant.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I just sort of changed those notes and then continued the ideas. And as I said, all these things come out differently, especially the instrumental ones. But sometimes they come from harmony. This one came from the melody. I remember.
Okay. Okay.
I had like the first 3 or 4 bars of it, and that was about it. And I didn't know what to do next. I got stuck. So when I pulled it out again and started playing through it and fixing the notes, all of a sudden that vamp came with a pedal point, on it. And I don't know, it just sort of, my process mainly is playing through it. I'm always playing what I'm singing. So I try to make it so that it's singable,
Yeah. That's such that whole answer just blew my mind. And I just want to pause and say, like, we're getting these wonderful comments. Early Perez, hey love, saying, Dena, your last gig at Birdland, as I've said before, will be always imprinted heavily in my mind. I agree. I think the last time I saw you, Early, we may have been there on the same night at Birdland. Martha Crawford is saying beautiful things about you. Thanks out there for watching. Thank you, Todd Foreman, for your donation via Venmo.
Oh, Martha. Martha. Hello.
Yeah. We thank you, Todd. And if you feel moved to donate, you can do that at the on those handles below on Venmo and PayPal, and we thank you in advance. Awesome. So that's so cool. Yeah, that sometimes the writing, you have the melody, sometimes it comes from, you get the chord changes and then the melody follows. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes just like I got into listening to certain people for harmony a while back. And all of a sudden then my head is more into like hearing harmony. So I just sit down and I work out some nice harmony things and not really thinking form or time signature, nothing, just sound, like what sounds. And I tend to see sometimes colors, when I play certain chords, it's like purple or deep blue or red, or, it just depends. But I also see that just looking through changes in standards. But
Synesthesia.
yeah, that's what it's called. Thank you.
You're welcome. I love that.
Yeah, it's I know people that have it much stronger than myself, but because I think there's a spectrum of it. You can see some of the colors. Some people can see some, and some can't see others, and some have many colors, and then, but some also, I see shapes. I see shapes all, like you listen to Monk chords, the tunes he writes, it's much more angular, of that shape, triangles, and I don't know. What are those other ones? Starts with an R. I forget. Math was my worst subject. Yes. And who knows what creative ones. And then there's Bill Evans, who's really round, in shape. So anyhow, so sometimes I'm thinking that when it comes to harmony or melody, of course, or even rhythm, when the rhythm, if I want a really smooth rhythm, meaning just it's grooving, it's round. I want the A sections to feel that way. What do I hear when I hear, because what's really great now is this Drum Genius. I don't know if you know that app.
I have heard of this. I haven't used it, but I know of it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I started I learned it from my students. They were using it for practicing, and they're like, "You got to check this out." I'm like, "Wow, Jimmy Cobb on Freddie Freeloader swinging." It's like
So
you get
for the people at home, you would tell them, if you will, what Drum Genius is.
Okay, it's an app, and I'll show it to you now. It looks like this crazy guy here.
Okay.
Drum Genius, right? And it's an app that has all
There we
these
go. Okay, right.
different kinds of styles and everything. So if you go into like jazz, medium swing, medium swing, right?
Yep.
And then you see Jimmy Cobb on Freddie, the freeloader, number 3, the green one. And then I push it. And it's about 14 seconds. Yeah, exactly 14 seconds of him playing the groove. They were able to take it out of the recording and put it on here. And so I practice with Jimmy Cobb or Billy Joe Jones or Billy Higgins or Tony Williams or Bill Stewart or Jack DeJohnette or Greg Hutchinson. I mean, there's a lot of great drummers on here.
And you can just
Mickey
loop
Roker.
it. Oh my God.
It is already done. It's already done for you. It loops. You don't really even hear the loop.
Amazing.
It's really great time. So anyhow, that's what I use.
Okay.
Because I learned it from my students. But how do we get on that?
I don't remember. But it was good. I'm glad we got
genius. We got on it because of
we're talking about composing, how you write.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of grooves. I put them on and I try to hear, what do I hear? And I think about some chord progressions if I want something, grooving, or if I'm just thinking of a vamp to start with. I'll just think of I'll just listen to them and think, okay, what do I hear? And what do I hear like a bass doing? And I do. Yes, I use iReal Pro too, but because those are, factory sounds. But this is the real drummer. I know there's no bass player here, but at least you have the drums. And my students were using it to practice just soloing, scatting, because I said, you got to be able to hear the changes. So you put the drum on, and then you got to like hear them in the inner ear. The changes.
I want to thank Grace, Early, and Adam. They all donated. Thank you so much, you guys. I just want to give them a shout out and a thank you. Yes, and if you haven't,
kids.
You can, Jazz House Kids. We're gonna give them some money. So thank you. I read, Dena, that when you were living here in the States, you would regularly drive before you lived in New York. You would drive 4 hours into New York to see your favorite pianists play. You saw Hank Jones and Mulgrew Miller and all these incredible people. And I was wondering if, I have no doubt there were many incredible performances, many amazing nights that really touched you. But I was like, I wonder if there was a night in particular you remember where you went to hear somebody and a light bulb about playing went off for you while you were listening to somebody. Do you know what I mean? Like
when I heard Chris Anderson.
Okay.
He's a little known. His name is little known, but of most of the piano players, we all know him. His harmony and his voicings and the way he played was just so beautiful. I had probably had heard before him because I used to go down to Bradley's. That's where I drove from my home in Binghamton, New York for like 4 hours. I'd drive down to New York, and I told my mom I was going to the mall.
Did you really? You didn't want to.
I just said, Mom, I'm going to the mall. I'll see you like later. We're going to hang out. Right. I would drive down starting at like 5, because the mall closed at 8. So like back then, I think 8 or 9. So 5 o'clock, I'd go to the mall. I'd go on the same highway that would go to the mall, but I'd go the opposite way and get on the highway and go to New York. Wow. And drive and pull right up in front of Bradley's. D'Agostino's grocery store was right next to it, right? And there was this fire hydrant there, and D'Agostino's would always like have all this garbage out there, and the garbage covered the fire hydrant.
Oh.
So I parked right in front of it almost every time, and I never got a ticket. And that was right outside the club. I'm like, really, actually, the first handful of times that I went down there, I didn't know there was a fire hydrant. I thought it was just garbage. And then one night we came out of the club and, some of the garbage was all taken away. There was a hydrant there, but I still didn't have a ticket.
Wow.
So I was on my way home. So I would drive down there for 4 hours, see Tommy Flanagan, Barry Harris, oh God, the names now. Jeez. Come on, Dena. Mulgrew Miller, Kenny Barron, Chris Anderson was the one that was the least that I saw, but probably almost the most influential, because when he played, it was so uniquely different than the others, I think, at least for me then. When I had heard all the others, and quite a few, many came, if I were able to stay the second set, but usually I only stayed one then. But later on, when I would go and I lived there and it was still open, I was still there. I was living there. So I was there a lot. And so there were a lot of pianists that came after their gigs. Hank Jones, Hank, he did solo. I think it was solo, but someone came in on bass, and I don't remember who it was now. Might have been Ray Drummond. He was always down there coming in, and his bass was underneath the piano. And then Billy Higgins always had like a set underneath the piano. And wasn't that, I think that was Carmen McRae's piano, right?
Oh, really?
I think that was the one. Yeah. One of hers. She had two beautiful ones, but that one I think was, and that ended up, I think, in the Jazz Gallery also.
Oh, okay.
After
wow.
Bradley's. Yeah.
Mm.
So anyhow, but Bradley's was a big influence on me.
And for Chris Anderson, when you say that like he, his playing was so unique, was it like his voicing? Was it his rhythm, the way he cut? Like what?
He played a lot of ballads.
Okay.
And because he was older then, and I think he definitely was disabled a bit.
Okay.
Is what I remember. I was young, so
yeah.
I mean, I'm talking, 18,
Wow.
19 going down there. And I remember him, I think he was either in a wheelchair or walker or something, and they would sit him down. So I know that, but so he didn't really like play really fast or anything. He really played beautifully, these great voicings that, and inner voicings. Like he would play this wide voicing and have some inner voicings going. And a lot of the other piano players, either they did it and it was too fast.
Okay, right. Yeah.
But I think most of us agree that Chris Anderson was really a very incredible pianist, and he really.
Julie, I knew you'd be here. Hi.
We talked about the fact that I was probably going to fly in today. Oh, he's coming back.
Yay.
He's back.
While we're stopped, I will remind you that you're welcome to donate via Venmo and PayPal. I mean, aren't these? I knew she was going to have amazing stories. So we hope that we can help our young Dena DeRoses of the world by donating to Jazz House Kids. And in order for us to do that, we need for you to pitch in, share your hard-earned. We know money is tight right now, but whatever you are able to, we are so grateful. And you can share that through Venmo at Gabrielle-Stravelli and paypal.me/Gabrielle Stravelli. Let's welcome back Dena DeRose. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
There you are.
Oh, yes. Got cut off there for a second.
Right. It happens.
Yeah.
I want to transition a little bit and ask you about your singing. Now, I know that you came to singing after you'd always been playing. You came to singing a little bit later. And I'd love to play a clip. This is from your album, Travel in Light, live in Antwerp. I'm going to play a little clip of you singing the standard East of the Sun. Let's hear that now.
East of the sun and west of the moon, we'll build a dream house of love, dear, near to the sun in the day, near to the moon at night. Build a lovely way, dear, living on love and pale moonlight, just you and I, forever and a day. Love will not die, we'll keep it that way. Up among the stars we'll find a harmony of life to a lovely tune. East of the sun and west of the moon, dear. East of the sun and west of the moon. East of the sun and west of the moon. We'll build a dream house of love, dear, near to the sun in the day, near to the moon at night. We'll build a lovely, lovely way, dear, living on love and pale moonlight, just you and I forever and a day. Love will not die, 'cause we'll keep it that way. Up among the stars will find a harmony of life to a lovely tune. East of the sun and west of the moon, dear.
I love that. I love it so much. I wish we could play the whole thing, but
It's okay.
are limited. So again, this is the kind of phrasing I was talking about when we listened to Carmen. Oh, and Grace is saying gorgeous. I agree.
Oh, thank you.
It's that phrasing that's really playful and you shift things around, but it's still groovy and percussive. And because you are an educator, I guess this is kind of a big question. We could probably spend an hour just talking about this alone, but I would love to know how you teach that, you know? How is it is it rhythm exercises? Is it listening? Is it a combo? How you get people, yes, Early Perez, a master class in phrasing. I concur. How do you get people, students, to that place?
It's a process. It's a process. I mean, that kind of phrasing. I don't know. When I hear, it reminds me of, and I tend to, when I hear myself now, because I don't listen to myself ever, but yeah, unless you're like making the CD and then it's out, then I
Right.
don't really listen unless it's like you're getting it heard on these interviews and things. But anyhow, when I hear it now, it's what I talk about with students, that what Sarah Vaughan did that was different than Ella. I mean, they're not that much in difference, 5-10 years difference, but Sarah tends to sing. I just sort of think of it as legato rhythmic phrasing.
I love that.
And because she's staying on the vowels and where the consonants come in, or where the words, it depends on the story. I mean, I work a lot with story, and that's where I get a lot of phrasing out of students. And I have to say, I mean, for these 14 years here in Austria, I've only had one mother tongue English student for 1 year. And when I wish I could have had her for longer, because she's from the States, but she didn't learn German, as students have to learn the first year, and she didn't, and then she couldn't stay. So anyhow, I deal with 20 other countries at least that come in to my studio, and English, the pronunciation of it is one thing, but dealing with that for me taught me a lot about how, when you listen to Sarah or Carmen also, I mean, many of them have it, but Sarah was probably the first recorded after Ella that really shows this kind of legato rhythmic phrasing, which is the words, where you stay on vowels and when you finish words and start the next, and that sounds very detailed and scientific, but it's more like talking them.
Yeah.
And have them all talk, because it's not their first language, English. So that we have to work on English. We have an English teacher for them also. My singing students have I think it's 45 minutes every week with the classical. They also get classical voice technique.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, and they get about 25 minutes of that a week. But anyhow, but with these two combinations, and then of course our lessons, it's really great to work on them with phrasing through this experience of talking the words, and I think when I used to do this when I teach at Purchase, before I moved here, I was teaching at Purchase and
Mhm.
many other schools, but that was my main sort of school, and the Hart School of Music up in Connecticut.
Oh.
But some other students, and most of those spoke English pretty well, so it wasn't really an issue. But I was already thinking about talking the stories back then.
Mhm.
But when I moved here and had to deal with people that don't speak English, and they have to sing in English,
Right.
to be able to talk through them and find the rhythm of the language.
Mhm.
I mean, just like we do as Americans when we want to sing Brazilian, I'm not talking about me because I hadn't done it, but someone I know that does it very well, Sandy Cressman. She's a great singer out in San
Okay.
Francisco area. She's really great at the Brazilian kind of pronunciation and all that.
Ah.
So, and many other people that do it very well. And that's what they do is they listen really to the rhythm of it and the pronunciation of the vowels and all that. So we do a lot of work with that as they talk it. So if you go east of the sun and west of the moon, here they might
Mhm.
say east of the sun, and
Okay.
west, vest, because it's a
Yeah.
different pronunciation for the W here. Of the moon, moon.
Okay.
So there's a lot of work with that. There's the detail work. That's what I mean. It's a process. For
Mhm.
some, it's a bigger process. For a lot of my students here, and then also I teach in Siena. Same. Italy has a little bit closer with certain vowels
Hmm.
and consonants, but here it's the Germanic language, so it's a lot different. And to get them to talk it and feel the rhythm of how it's spoken,
Mhm.
not even with the melody, trying to get the melody out of the head,
Yeah.
but just talk it, How would
Yep.
you say it to someone?
Mhm.
So we do a lot of that. And then we do it with the drum genius. You
Okay.
put it on and you
Yeah.
just sing east of the sun, and you just try to get in the groove and try to find the rhythm. But it's, finding your phrasing is finding your unique storytelling.
Mhm.
That's what I find when I see my students start to get it, and they do their thing. All of them sound different.
Hmm.
It's not, we don't have a factory here,
Right. Yeah.
I teach them a lot of the same stuff, but they all take it and they do it with it, what they need to do with it,
Mhm.
and do with it if they want to do with it, and they take what's needed. Some people need that English, but some of them are great. They have great English. Some of them,
Hmm.
some of them need it more. Some of them need more rhythm. Some of them, and so rhythm, even in the rhythm of the language,
Mhm.
helps phrasing.
Yeah.
The stresses and unstressed. So I have students from, say, Hungary or Croatia or some of the Eastern Poland, and the rhythm is different there. When they speak English, it's a different rhythm.
Mhm.
So they
Yep.
need to find the stresses and the unstressed
Yeah.
words in a sentence. And there's this great English book, actually. Let me see if I have it here. La, 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 la. You know what? I don't know if I have it here. I think because I left a bunch of books in school. But it's a great book on English and the
Huh.
stresses and unstresses. But that's for people that teach, but these days with global online lessons, you're going to get students from Japan, from
Mhm.
all over the place, Russia, Italy, wherever they are from,
Yeah.
people get them. And to know, I mean, because we grew up learning English, but grammar and all that stuff, I'm trying to learn German. It's very
Mhm.
hard because we don't know all the little details,
Yep.
many of us. Some people do.
You know, I read, it's so funny. This ties right into this. I read this remembrance that you wrote, like it was this collection of great artists like yourself writing, remembering McCoy Tyner.
Oh, yeah.
And I read this story, this personal story you had about him. And I think this goes along a bit with what we're talking about in terms of storytelling. And that was, if you are not familiar with McCoy Tyner, that picture that Julie just flashed on the screen, that was McCoy Tyner. And I wanted to ask you to share that story, that experience you had listening to him, or I think it was at a master class that he had
At a
given.
master class. Yeah,
Right?
yeah. No, it was great. I mean, I took my voice students into the master class. I was teaching at Stanford, and he was one of the guests, and so I brought all the students in, and I actually played
Oh, wow.
during it, but and I was so nervous. And I think this is late 90s, I think early 2000s. So I was a lot younger, and he just, because people put their hands up, and I sort of put my hand up, but I didn't because I wasn't sure, and he picked me. So I went when I played, and yeah, Alone Together, and I played it way too fast. I know all these people played before me too, and I was so nervous. So I get up there and I just played it. I played it way too fast. Yeah, I played it, whatever. I think I played it okay, but not great. I was young, much younger then, not much, like. It's hard to say what I didn't have then. I didn't have awareness of presence so much then. I was a little out of my body when I was playing it.
Okay.
If I remember back, yeah, I wasn't really that present. And so anyhow, but afterwards, if you think about the words to that tune, you might think of a different tempo. And that was it, something like that.
Yeah.
And it made me think, and I used to sing that tune. Why didn't I? So it really brought me to looking at the words more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There were a few people like that. Him, and then Tony Bennett was on Marion McPartland's Piano Jazz one time, and he said something like, I don't record a song or perform a song even if I don't believe it myself, and something like that. And those few words, sometimes they're only like these little short snippet, 1 or 2 sentence things that really stick.
Yep. You have a beautiful Shirley Horn album. Oh, and before we get to that, thank you, Martha. Thank you for your donation. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You can share with us on Venmo and PayPal at the links below. Thank you. Thank you. So you have this beautiful Shirley Horn album. We're going to play a little clip from that album. It's you singing this, I think, underappreciated Rodgers and Hart song, You're Nearer, but that's one of my faves. I love that song. I love it. Let's hear a little bit of that now.
You're nearer than my head is to my pillow. Nearer than the wind is to the willow. Dearer than the rain is to the earth below. Precious as the sun to the things that grow.
So beautiful. And I'm just seeing people who are with us. What's that? You forgot about it?
I forgot about that too. Yeah.
Lizanne Lyons is watching, beautiful singer and educator in Florida. Michael Virapen, who is a wonderful pianist jazz pianist who I worked with in Malaysia. He's based in Kuala Lumpur. Hi,
Oh,
Michael. Oh, this is so great. Yay. I'm so happy all these
super.
people are tuning in. So I wanted to just ask you to talk a little bit about Shirley's influence on you. And I also wanted to ask you can always feel free to disagree or say, no, it's not really the case. But she's so associated with these very slow tempos, and it's what she is able to do and the way she is able to just relax and stretch these tempos is beautiful. But she could also swing her ass off, and I wish people would talk about that more. So I was wondering, like, if you could talk about what you learned from Shirley Horn in terms of swinging, not you know what I mean, as well as playing ballads. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't know about Shirley Horn until I moved to New York.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, I was a little green when I moved to New York, actually. I was coming off of hand surgeries, and maybe 10 to 12 months after playing and singing at the same time.
Okay.
About 10 to 12 months, I moved to New York. Really. So I was pretty green. I still read the real book. I mean, yeah.
Well, but everybody's
had-
green when most of us are green when we
and I had really great guys around me, and I say guys because back then it was pretty much only guys that played bass and drums and just supported me and gave me these opportunities. But one guy in particular was a pianist, Rob Bargad, and he turned me on to Shirley Horn. Well, he had this little apartment not far from where I had an apartment. We had met at a session or something, or a gig, or I forget how. And so he invited me over because he cooked. And I said, "Oh, a guy that cooks?" I'm like, "Really? I didn't know." I mean, I'm from upstate New York, Binghamton. Like you just don't think of guys cooking, and asking you to come over to his place. So I go there, and he's got this little kitchen. It's like you can just stand in it and rotate round. Here's the oven. Here's the refrigerator. Here's the sink. And he made this incredible meal. With playing great music throughout it all. And it was just a studio apartment. It was just like a bed, like rolled up into a couch and the kitchen. And we sat there, and he said, So you're like new to New York, right? And I said, yeah. I said, I've been here about a year or so, and still getting to know people, and it's really great. You made dinner for me. He goes, but now here's the real deal. Do you know Shirley Horn? And I said, Shirley Horn? No, I don't know Shirley Horn. When in my mind was Shirley Bassey, I forget what came into my head. Shirley Horn? No, I don't know Shirley Horn. He put a record on, and we're talking records back then. He put a record on, and I sat there, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing, the beauty, and the space and everything. And I just sat there, and I don't know. I started crying. I mean, it was really a beautiful, first experience listening to Shirley Horn. I was like, because I really didn't know any other piano player singers other than the guy that helped me get one gig in New York.
Okay.
And then I was just doing that gig all the time. I didn't meet anybody else. And so I didn't know anybody else that played piano and sang. And so when I heard this, I thought, I'd already heard Carmen sing and play. That's how I learned how to.
Okay.
From her great record, and I have it right here. Live at the Doug.
Ah, God, I love her.
Carmen. That's the Japanese version.
Okay.
Yeah. the next revolution, whatever it is. There she is. Anyhow, Carmen. But that record taught me how to play and sing.
Wow.
But I didn't really know of anyone,
Uh-huh.
else. And then I learned of Nat Cole, of course, after that. But I didn't know about Shirley Horn. So when we listened, it was like, okay, I love this. I can feel, she's doing standard tunes, but she's herself,
Mm.
and I thought, how's she doing that? Blah, blah, blah. It just ran through my head a little bit. But the more I listened to her, and I listen to, of course, every record now, pretty much. But when you listen to her, she's the same, like the same throughout. I hadn't thought of that. She was probably the first artist that I just thought of, like thinking about what their growth was through their career, how their records went, how she changed through her life, and I hadn't really thought about that chronological lifespan either.
Mhm.
With other artists that I listened to, Red Garland, Tom Flanagan, all of them, piano wise. And singer wise, of course, Carmen. But Carmen, that record was so influential that I only had it on cassette tape. So I didn't know what Carmen looked like. We didn't have internet back then,
Right.
So I
Mhm.
just had the cassette. Okay, Carmen McRae, whatever. And I saw her at the Blue Note once when I was like 20 or something, 19 maybe. But yeah, but Shirley definitely had such an impact from the first listen, not only because of the great food and everything in the dinner that Rob provided and how he set it all up, but I think he knew too. He has a sense, actually, because he produces records and he does others. He's a great organist and pianist. He played with Nat Adderley years
Oh, wow.
ago, and Marlena Shaw and all these great singers. Ernestine Anderson. He played with a lot of great singers,
Huh.
and I think he just knew like what my musical aura sort of was.
Mhm.
And so he just wanted to introduce me to Shirley, But
Mm.
then it wasn't then just that, but going to hear her. When the 5 Spot reopened in New York, she was there,
Wow.
like about once a month or whatever. I was there, and we were just hanging out. So to get to know her also was another very nice experience.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah. She didn't say a whole lot, she was very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But what she did say always, just rang.
Mm.
Very genuine. Yeah. But her swing,
Yeah.
when she was swinging with Steve Williams, it
Mm-hmm.
was unbelievable. And just the thing is, her swing is so laid back
Mm.
that, I mean, I've in the, the last some years now, I've had the opportunity to have Steve Williams as a
Oh,
drummer
wow.
in my
Okay.
group. So I've talked to him a little bit about it, and he was like, when I first started playing with Shirley, it's like, I didn't know if she was just like wanted it slower. But that's just where her beat is really on the back side,
Okay.
So he just had to keep time.
Wow.
But, yeah, I mean, Shirley's always will be an influence, not only singing and the space that she uses and the tunes she chooses are really, like really for her. That's what taught me a lot too, was about her, was that she chose songs that really, I guess I saw it more when I saw her live, that she was really herself, like singing these songs. She wasn't like acting or anything or putting on, and I really like that. So that was another huge influence she had on me. just to try to be real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I got one more question for you. It's another. It's a big question. It's another one
I'll
like
keep it shorter.
how do you know? How do you teach people phrasing? We're gonna roll a little clip. I wonder if you are aware. So somebody on YouTube, somebody transcribed your solo, this solo that you sing and play on the tune It Could Happen to You.
Oh, I saw that when it first came out. I think I haven't seen it.
It's such a great solo. I hear a little. There's some Chet Baker, the famous Chet Baker. So there's some quotes in there. It made me just so happy to hear that. And then I just want to talk a little bit, if we can, about soloing. But so let's roll this clip of Dena DeRose soloing on "It Could Happen to You."
Keep an eye on spring on when church bells ring, 'cause it could happen to you. All I did was wonder how yours would be, and it happened to me.
Lizanne said, "Burnin'" while that was playing, and I agree. I agree. And also,
Thanks.
Rich Switzer from Legends Radio is watching, and he sends love to the both of us. Thank
Oh.
you, Rich. We love you. And Jill Edwards Minier, I think I'm saying that right, she is watching and saying hello. So awesome.
Great.
Thank you, and thank
Yeah,
you.
hello.
We ask if you are able, that you can share donations with us, because we are supporting Jazz House Kids this week, the future. And you can share with us at Venmo and PayPal at the links below. Yeah, so soloing. Again, I know this is such this could be its own show in and of itself. And I know that, like, at your stage of the game, you are not thinking, I don't want to say, like, what are you thinking about when you're soloing? Because you are beyond that. But I guess I would ask similarly to, like, how do you teach people phrasing? What are sort of the things that you lead your students through, that you share with your students about soloing, like to get people started with soloing?
Well, as we learn how to talk, we listen to our mommy and daddy or whoever's bringing us up, and we repeat. We hear it and we repeat it back. I mean, I'm sort of doing that with Rosetta Stone, with German,
Yeah.
And it's not any different, really. In the beginning, the foundational part, when you start, it would be great. That solo, It Could Happen to You. Learn Chet Baker's solo. learn it on Do It the Hard Way. Do it whatever songs he like. He's got a great one, But Not For Me, one with trumpet that he plays that's singable mostly, and one that he actually scats. Different cut, different track, different time. And finding, at least as a teacher, trying to find the solos that are, for really beginners. Some people have never even sung a solo ever.
Right.
Some of them come in here and they've already learned 10 or 15, some of them, but some none. So there's like certain ones that are for more beginning, and It Could Happen to You and Do It the Hard Way, and
love
also learning vocalese, learning Twisted and Farmer's Market and all these. Annie, we just lost Annie.
Yeah.
Another one. But learning these because they're based on solos, so that is the language that is set already as the foundation of pretty much all other genres of jazz, or not genres of jazz, but other types of jazz that have come out from every style of music. What am I saying? It's really,
Yeah.
all styles of music have that in it somewhere.
You know what I would love to, I'm curious to know. So, because we are in this incredible age where we have the internet and there's so much information out there, and I find that so many solos, transcriptions of these solos already exist. Do you suggest, is it okay for people to read the transcription of the solo while they're learning it, or would you prefer they just listen to it and learn it by ear? Okay.
By ear. I tell them all, it's going to be online. You're going to find it. Don't do it.
Okay.
Do it by ear. Listen to it enough times, and I'll say, okay, It Could Happen to You. I mean, if you listen to Chet Baker, what is that, about a 3.5-minute tune? Totally. The whole track.
Right.
But if you listen to only the solo, it's only 2 A's.
Right. Yeah.
So if you just listen to that over, they can put it in a transcribe, that app, right? And you put it in there and you just loop it over and over. But I have them listen to the track over and over so that they hear him singing the song, and then, and they learn the whole thing, really, just not the solo. But if I tell them, well, it takes, but maybe, by 10, 15 times, all of a sudden you're starting to sing along with this, and they're like 10, 15. I'm like, yeah, but then by like 20, 30, maybe 40th time, you're you're pretty much singing along with them, if that's the intention of the listening. If the intention is at first you just put it on while you're making Sunday breakfast, you put it on, you hear it, and then you're cleaning the house, whatever. Those times you listen to it, that's going to go by many times. And all of a sudden you find yourself singing along to it. And then maybe it's by that 40 or 50th time that you're able to sing along with him pretty much, and maybe it's not even all the syllables yet.
Right.
Just the notes. Then you have to go into the details of transcribing the syllables first.
Okay.
Before the notes, because then you can sing along with him, even with your own way of transcribing the syllables if you want. You could do it per bar, I suppose, but and it's just, and then you just like do it mostly by ear. And then once they can come in, and usually I give them like 2, 3, 4 weeks to learn this, because it's a process. We even do a bit of like this, Michelle Weir has this thing called lucid listening.
Okay.
In her book, Vocal Improvisation, in the back. And so I went through, I should probably write her and tell her I did this, but I took part of it and then I edited and made some other parts, and I use it as a way for them to listen to a track so that they're like really listening with intention.
Yeah.
It's something specific. So with scatting and soloing, listening to Ella, whoever it is, Chet, Ella, listening and getting all their scat syllables pretty much down to a T. You have to it's very detailed work, but that's primarily in the beginning doing that. But then working on soloing, say you have a more, medium, a moderate, advanced, or an advanced student that wants a solo on Naima, or I don't know, Nika's Dream, or any of these kind of more, Along Came Betty even, or something like that, that's a lot more chord changes. Then we talk about, going back to what every instrument pretty much does. I take a more instrumental approach when it goes to knowing the harmony. So singing the roots, singing the thirds through the entire tune. You put the iReal Pro on, or a track, or put the record on and sing the roots through the changes all the way through, and you do it however many times it takes so that you have them pretty much memorized. You can walk down the street with your earbuds in and you're just like, doom, 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 and just trying to really making the roots and the changes. And then the roots and thirds and roots and sevenths, and then guide tone lines and arpeggios and all those things. But that comes, it's a process.
Yeah.
But I think the listening and singing of solos is a large part.
It
needs to get done.
To build that vocabulary.
Yeah, and it's not about just beginners. It's like anybody, all of us that want to learn a solo, we're going to do that pretty much first. That's how I learned all of the music. I didn't go to university for this. I had one sort of private teacher, and I took one lesson with Jim McNeely when I was about 18. I don't remember it much other than I learned the diminished scale. It opened up my entire world.
Yeah.
But I learned it from just, listening to the records and copying, but not mimicking. And there's the difference when it comes to jazz. We're copying the musical aspects, the melodies, how Sarah sings Lullaby of Birdland, or, you know what I mean? And then and for me, with non-English speaking people here, more or less, listening to Ella sing Misty and get all the vowels, the shapes of the words, how she shapes them so greatly. And so it's a lot of listening we do to learn this music, because I did that myself. And when I got into teaching, I got all into this like paperwork, the charts and the blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wait a minute here. How did I learn this music? Let's just go back to that. And the more I read there was a big resurgence about going back and learning this way in the jazz education world. And, I just sort of got back on board, and I just said, no more charts. We just say, hey, they'll come in, the students will come in and say, I want to learn social call. I was like, great. So who are you going to listen to? And they said, well, I already heard Jasmine Horn do it. I said, oh, great. She's great. Thank God for the young generation out there. Right. And I said, but what about Betty Carter? And they said, oh, Betty Carter. I don't, yeah, okay. And then they listen to her and they go, oh. Yeah. Wait, it doesn't come from nowhere,
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That's everything. Not everything I wanted to ask you, but for today, there's so much more, but I know it's late to where you are. So I just want
a great time, Gabrielle. It's great. Great questions. And
thank you. People can follow you. So you're on Instagram at Dena M. DeRose, on Facebook at Dena DeRose, and on your website at DenaDeRose.com.
And I'll have a new website soon. It's
Oh,
in the
wow.
works.
Okay. Great. And congrats on the new album, Ode to the Road. Check that out if you haven't already.
Thank you.
Julie's gonna pull you back into the green room just for a minute while I tell people who's with us next week, and then we can have a quick goodbye before you leave us. So,
Super.
but thank you one more time, Dena DeRose. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. This was so nice. I finally had a chance tonight to actually get up in that comment section and see all you beautiful people joining us and loving on Dena. You can, and we so appreciate if you do share a donation with us so that we can share with Jazz House Kids this week. You can make a donation for Venmo at Gabrielle-Stravelli or paypal.me/Gabrielle Stravelli. And if you are watching this after the live broadcast later in the week, we collect donations all week. And then next week, I will take them and donate those to Jazz House Kids. So if you're watching this after the fact, you still have time. You can just send me a Venmo or PayPal. Just put in the notes that it is for the Dena DeRose episode of the early set. And we thank you so much in advance for doing that. And we thank everybody who has shared with us already, all those people who I gave shout outs to. Thank you so much. Next week, we have a wonderful guest. Nani Assis is going to join us. Nani is a wonderful Brazilian percussionist, drummer, vocalist, guitar player, and I'm so excited. We haven't really delved into Brazilian music yet on the show, so I am super stoked with that. I know it's going to be a great episode. If you enjoyed tonight, share it. Please share it on Facebook and spread the word. And we thank you in advance. A big shout out to Jim Caruso and the staff at Birdland for supporting us. And huge thanks to Julie Garnier, who you guys got to see tonight. She doesn't often appear, but I'm always a little bit happy when she does because I love working with her, and she's such a wonderful producer and technical director. So thanks, Julie, as always. And that's it for tonight. Join us again next week, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern with Nani Assis. See you then. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.